Welcome back, everybody, to another episode, where today we're gonna be looking at King Henry VIII's wives, 6 queens, 6 women, so let's get right into it. Divorced, beheaded, died, Henry VIII's wives in order: Catherine of Aragon, Anne Boleyn, Jane Seymour, Anne of Cleves, Catherine Howard and Catherine Parr, were so much more than just his queen's consort. These 6 women are often compared with each other, or mentioned only in relation to their shared experience of marriage to Henry VIII. It's also easy to think of their downfalls as inevitable, simple outcomes. But many historians now acknowledge that the Tudor queens were all complex women with distinct personalities who had to survive in the ruthless Tudor court. The popular rhyme, divorced, beheaded, died, divorced, beheaded, survived may have helped ensure their continued presence in the popular imagination, but it conceals their agency. Individualism and lives before Henry. On this video we have tried as much as possible to get to know Catherine and Jane and Catherine on their own terms. They have drawn on their expertise to form a picture of each of these women about 500 years after they lived. First of all, let's explain what is a queen consort. Queen consort is the official title of the king's wife. So, as Henry VIII's wives, these 6 women were also all queens consort of England. Number 1, Catherine of Aragon was Queen of England as the first wife of King Henry VIII from their marriage on the 11th of June 1509 until its annulment on the 23rd of May 1533. She had previously been Princess of Wales while married to Henry's elder brother, Arthur, Prince of Wales, for a short period before his death. Elizabeth Norton, a Tudor historian, described the first wife, Catherine, as she had different views about female rulership to Henry, because her mother, Isabella, Queen of Castile, was an incredibly powerful monarch. She was a warrior queen. She was a cultured queen. She was a very religious queen. She was a really important influence on the young Catherine. Catherine was trained to be Queen of England since her infancy and spent 24 years in this role, what she saw as her divine duty. She excelled as queen consort, acting as queen regent when Henry VIII was away. She once sent him the bloodied cloak of his enemy after a battle. She was also an excellent diplomat and hosted Francois I of France at the Field of Cloth of Gold. Catherine had incredible emotional resilience. She navigated the loss of at least 5 children, including miscarriages, stillborn babies, and the death of her son Henry when he was just 52 days old. Like many Tudor parents, Catherine would have felt these losses keenly. This strong-mindedness meant that, when Henry tried to annul their marriage, Catherine refused to go without a fight. She even successfully argued her case in court, in defiance of her husband. "Alas, sir, where have I offended you? Or what occasion have you of displeasure, that you intend to put me from you? I take God and all the world to witness that I have been to you a true, humble and obedient wife, ever conformable to your will and pleasure." This is an excerpt of Catherine of Aragon appealing to Henry VIII at a court in Blackfriars, London. Catherine believed that being Queen of England was her calling. She was fiercely protective of their daughter, Mary, the future Mary I. As the aunt of Holy Roman Emperor Charles V, and the woman who many of Henry's subjects viewed as the true queen, Catherine knew she had too much power to let Henry dispose of them both. At the end, their marriage was annulled in 1533 after she failed to produce a male heir. Number 2, Anne Boleyn was the England from 1533 to 1536 as the second wife of King Henry VIII. The circumstances of her marriage and execution, by beheading for treason, made her a key figure in the political and religious upheaval that marked the start of the English Reformation. Anne was the daughter of Thomas Boleyn, later Earl of Wiltshire, and his wife, Elizabeth Howard, and was educated in the Netherlands and France. Anne returned to England in early 1522 to marry her cousin Jane's butler, 9th Earl of Ormond. The marriage plans were broken off, and instead, she secured a post at court as maid of honour to Henry VIII's wife, Catherine of Aragon. Early in 1523, Anne was secretly betrothed to Henry Percy, son of Henry Percy, 5th Earl of Northumberland, but the betrothal was broken off when the Earl refused to support it. Cardinal Thomas Wolsey refused the match in January 1524. In early 1526, Henry VIII had his sights set on Anne, but she wasn't keen on being his mistress like her sister Mary. Henry was determined to ditch Catherine and marry Anne. When Wolsey couldn't get the Pope's nod, it was clear the church wasn't budging. So, Henry and his crew, including Thomas Cromwell, started breaking the church's hold on England and shutting down monasteries. Henry and Anne finally tied the knot on January 25, 1533, after a secret wedding the previous November. Just days later, Archbishop Cranmer declared Henry's marriage to Catherine invalid. This sparked Henry's excommunication and the first big split between the Church of England and the Catholic Church. Anne became queen on June 1, 1533, and on September 7th, she gave birth to Elizabeth I. Henry had hoped for a son, but he loved Elizabeth just the same. Sadly, Anne went through 3 miscarriages, and by March 1536, Henry was already pursuing Jane Seymour. Henry had Anne investigated for high treason in April 1536. On the 2nd of May, she was arrested and sent to the Tower of London, where she was tried before a jury, including Henry Percy, her former betrothed, and her uncle Thomas Howard, 3rd Duke of Norfolk. She was convicted on the 15th of May and beheaded 4 days later. Historians view the charges, which included adultery, incest with her brother George, and plotting to kill the king, as unconvincing. Number 3, Jane Seymour was Queen of England as the 3rd wife of King Henry VIII from their marriage on the 30th of May 1536 until her death the next year. She became queen following the execution of Henry's second wife, Anne Boleyn, who was accused by Henry of adultery after failing to produce a male heir. Jane, however, died of postnatal complications less than 2 weeks after the birth of her only child, the future King Edward VI. She was the only wife of Henry VIII to receive a queen's funeral, and Henry was later buried alongside her remains in St. George's Chapel, Windsor Castle. Jane, the daughter of Sir John Seymour and Marjorie Wentworth, was most likely born at Wolf Hall, Wiltshire, although Westbower Manor in Somerset has also been suggested. Her birth date is not recorded. Various accounts use anywhere from 1504 to 1509, but it is generally estimated at between 1508 and 1509. Through her maternal grandfather, she was a descendant of King Edward III's son Lionel of Antwerp, 1st Duke of Clarence. Because of this, she and King Henry VIII were 5th cousins. She also shared a great-grandmother, Elizabeth Cheney, Lady Say, with his 2nd and 5th wives, Anne Boleyn and Catherine Howard. Jane was not as highly educated as Henry's 1st and 2nd wives, Catherine of Aragon and Anne Boleyn. She could read and write a little, but was much better at needlework and household management, which were considered much more necessary for women. Her needlework was reportedly beautiful and elaborate. Some of it survived as late as 1652, when it is recorded to have been given to the Seymour family. After her death, it was noted that Henry was an enthusiastic embroiderer. Jane became a maid of honour in 1532 to Queen Catherine, but may have served her as early as 1527, and went on to serve Queen Anne with her sister Elizabeth. The first report of Henry's interest in Jane was in February 1536, about 3 months before Anne's execution. Number 4. Anne of Cleves was Queen of England from the 6th of January to the 12th of July 1540 as the 4th wife of Henry VIII. Little is known about and before 1527, when she became betrothed to Francis, Duke of Bar, son and heir of Antoine, Duke of Lorraine, although their marriage did not proceed. In March 1539, negotiations for Anne's marriage to Henry began. Henry believed he needed to form a political alliance with her brother, William, a leader of the Protestants of Western Germany, to strengthen his position against potential attacks from Catholic France and the Holy Roman Empire. Anne arrived in England in December 1539 and married Henry a week later, but the marriage was declared unconsummated after 6 months, and Anne was not crowned queen consort. Following the annulment, Henry gave her a generous settlement, and Anne was thereafter known as the king's beloved sister. Remaining in England, she lived to see the reigns of Henry's children, Edward VI and Mary I, and attended Mary's coronation in 1553 and outlived the rest of Henry's wives. Number 5. Catherine Howard was Queen of England from July 1540 until November 1541 as the 5th wife of King Henry VIII. She was the daughter of Lord Edmund Howard and Joyce Culper, a first cousin to Anne Boleyn, the second wife of Henry VIII, and the niece of Thomas Howard, 3rd Duke of Norfolk. Thomas Howard was a prominent politician at Henry's court. He secured her a place in the household of Henry's 4th wife, Anne of Cleves, where Howard caught the king's interest. She married him on the 28th of July 1540 at Oatlands Palace in Surrey, just 19 days after the annulment of his marriage to Anne. Henry was 49, and it is widely accepted that Catherine was about 17 at the time of her marriage to Henry VIII. Catherine was stripped of her title as queen in November 1541 and beheaded 3 months later on the grounds of treason for committing adultery with her distant cousin, Thomas Culper. Number 6. Catherine Parr was Queen of England and Ireland as the last of the 6 wives of King Henry VIII from their marriage on the 12th of July 1543 until Henry's death on the 28th of January 1547. Catherine was the final queen consort of the House of Tudor and outlived Henry by a year and 8 months. With her husbands, she is the most married English queen consort. She was the first woman to publish in print an original work under her own name in England in the English language. Catherine enjoyed a close relationship with Henry's 3 children, Mary, Elizabeth and Edward. She was personally involved in the education of Elizabeth and Edward. She was influential in Henry's passing of the Third Succession Act in 1543 that restored his daughters Mary and Elizabeth to the line of succession to the throne. Catherine was appointed regent from July to September 1544, while Henry was on a military campaign in France. In the event that he lost his life, she was to rule as regent until Edward came of age. However, he did not give her any function in government in his will. On the 25th of April 1544, Catherine published her first book, Psalms or Prayers, anonymously. Her book Prayers or Meditations became the first original book published by an English queen under her own name on the 2nd of June 1545. She published a third book, The Lamentation of a Sinner, on the 5th of November 1547, 9 months after the death of King Henry VIII. On account of her Protestant sympathies, she provoked the enmity of anti-Protestant officials, who sought to turn the king against her. A warrant for her arrest was drawn up, probably in the spring of 1546. However, she and the king soon reconciled. After Henry's death on the 28th of January 1547, Catherine was allowed to keep the Queen's jewels and dresses as Queen Dowager. She assumed the role of guardian to her stepdaughter Elizabeth and took Henry's great-niece Lady Jane Grey into her household. About 6 months after Henry's death, she married her 4th and final husband, Thomas Seymour, 1st Baron Seymour of Sudderley. Seymour was an uncle of Henry's successor, King Edward VI, Catherine's stepson, and the younger brother of Lord Protector of England Edward Seymour, 1st Duke of Somerset, and of Jane Seymour, Henry's third wife. Catherine's fourth and final marriage was short-lived, for she died on the 5th of September 1548 due to complications of childbirth. Her funeral was held on the 7th of September 1548 and was the first Protestant funeral in England, Scotland or Ireland to be held in English. Alright, guys, that's all for today's video. If you like this video, please hit like and subscribe buttons. Until next time, thank you for watching.